had been famously kidnapped after someone had popped a needle in his butt and knocked him out. I'm just saying, what? Okay, well, there, I ruined your childhood like my mom ruined mine, but the point is that I had a really intense fear of being kidnapped, which grew into, as I became a teenager, a deep fascination and almost like a fantasy, kind of thing about wanting to be kidnapped a little bit, and then that evolved back into a fear of being kidnapped again as an adult. I'm like, oh, every time I walk down my street, I'm like, a van goes by and I'm like, anyway, so kidnapping, number one. Next question. Okay, right in the front row.
What about Augustin Burroughs' story made you want to write his love?
Okay, so the question's about Augustin Burroughs. He wrote a book called Wolf at the Table, and Augustin also wrote Running with Scissors and Television, Possible Side Effects. A lot of great books. I've read them all, I swear to God. Anyway, I was a really big fan, and we got this random email about the fact that he had this really neat concept about doing, when books come out, they do audio versions of the books, and he thought it would be really neat to have musicians score the audio book, so in between chapters and stuff there would be music and whatever. Anyway, so they pitched this idea to us, and I was like, me, because everything comes to Sarah and I, and then we decide who's going to do what, and I'm like, it must be me, I have to do it, I love him so much. So they sent me the manuscript, and I got to read the book multiple times. I was so excited, and those 2 days were the happiest days of my life. I just couldn't believe my luck that this happened to me. I was like, this is it, this is what making it feels like. You get to write a song for one of your favorite authors, and he's just such a magnificent person. I mean, his story is absolutely out of this world. He's it's unreal, and his writing is so amazing. So I finished the book for the second time, and I sit down to write the song, and I was like, oh my God. I've never written anything except for songs about myself and songs about my relationship and songs for Tegan and Sara, and I had no idea what to write, and I started reading the book a third time. A week went by, I paced around a lot, I wrote some really bad music, I wrote a lot of really bad lyrics, and so then I reached out to my management. I asked if I could email Augustin directly and ask him some questions about the book, and so they got in touch with him, and he said absolutely, and he actually wanted to talk to me to tell me a little bit about the book and his life and whatever. And while I waited for him to email me, I wrote him a letter asking him all these questions about his life and how he possibly survived. He was someone who's dealt with serious addiction and abuse and abandonment, and so I wrote him this letter, and then I just one day got tired of waiting and wrote the song about the letter. And then he emailed me, and it was amazing. It was the best thing I ever received. So anyway, the song is called His Love, and yeah, Augustin's amazing. If you haven't read his books, you should check them out. They're all really wonderful. But Wolf at the Table is particularly amazing.
What do you think about before you fall asleep?
Yes. Kidnapping, mostly.
Yes.
I first saw you guys at one of the first or the second Lilith fairs, and I'm wondering, was there a distinctive moment when you realized you could actually make a living with your music?
Besides the blue tub.
The truth is that we probably realized we could make a living making music when we started making a living. Because initially, even though we were touring and we had records and we were going out and working on projects or whatever, there was a time where it was almost like an annoying, foot out the door kind of a thought process for me, where I would just be every time we got home from a tour, I'd be like, this is silly, I'm not making enough to survive. I'm just going to apply to go back to school, to go to college or whatever. And it was really, I think it was also jealous. So we were 2004, 2005 when I really started to feel like I was making enough money to justify being out on the road so long. And it's not just justifying us being out on the road, but at some point you want to have a tour manager or a sound person or friends, or I remember
our own hotel rooms.
Or our own hotel rooms. Or I remember, this is so boring, but it's I remember I think it was in 2004 that I paid taxes for the first time, and I had to pay back taxes, but I couldn't even afford to get an accountant, those things just didn't even cross my mind, and it was at some point I realized I would want to be an adult, I didn't just want to make music, I wanted to be like everybody else, and all of our friends were getting, they were getting degrees and things and whatever, and I was like, God, what if we aren't doing anything that will actually help us in the future? What if we get to be 30 years old and we're so behind everybody? What if we're just what if we're sort of shooting ourselves in the foot? So it never was that clear to me, and I have so many friends who are so talented, and it's the thing that comes up all the time in conversation. They're on tour and they're struggling and they think, oh my God, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, and they'll call and they'll be like, how did you know? Like, when did it happen that you just were sure? And it's strange because, like, as much as I feel sure now, I mean, I just was talking about it 3 questions ago that I'm still convinced that it's going to end at any second. You know, it's not a conventional job in that sense. And so I know I can make music, but it's one thing to know you can make music, and it's another thing that, you know, to know that you can make music and also pay for groceries and, you know, your dentist or whatever. So, yeah, so roughly, though, about 2004, 2005, So Jealous was a big one for us.
Okay, a couple more questions. Okay.
I feel the need to stand. I
Please
don't know,
stand.
it's just, I feel weird sitting. What has been the most fulfilling thing over the last 13 years? The most fulfilling thing about all of it, both musician, like on the side of musicianship, and then just as human beings?
That is a very, very heavy question. The most fulfilling thing would be probably pretty impossible for any of us to say, but I mean, you know, I think that putting together this DVD was, you know, 16 months in the making, and it took a lot of people and a lot of time, and it became quite a reflective, like, you know, like there was a tone that was set almost immediately as we got the first edits back, like that we were looking backwards, we were reflecting. It was like we were sort of tying up loose ends and saying goodbye to that time. So, and I'm so proud of that. Like, we watched the movie in the theater with everyone last night, and it was very moving, you know. I mean, except for the moments where Sarah thought she needed braces and I need voice lessons, but other than that, you know, it was really moving. I mean, to be able to
Just on the bottom.
Yeah, to be able to bring, you know, 10 of our family and friends out, you know, here and there. I mean, like, we've got 5 more premieres to go to. I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, we've gotten to a level now where we can bring our friends and family out to experience this with us. I mean, there were a lot of years, like Sarah was just saying, where we were like, what are we doing? This is crazy. And, like, our parents would pick us up from the Greyhound, and we'd have sinus infections and be like 10 pounds underweight and like matted hair, and like, you know, there was a lot of time where we were like, what are we doing? So this is like definitely a really proud time for us, because we are starting to look forward to the next record. I mean, we're 30 songs in, so we're already in the midst of writing it, of course, but looking forward to the next era of Tegan and Sara, and it's going to be a much more mature era, and I hope our best era. I hope that we're able to create some really, really, really amazing, unforgettable music. So yeah, picking one moment would be hard, but it's cool listening to the old stories. I mean, I don't know how we got through it. That first trip here to Austin, that was the first time Sarah and I came to the States, and we were a freaking mess. I mean, I don't know how we got through it. I don't know why our record company wasn't like, actually, that deal, can we just get it back from you? Thanks so much. So, anyway.